to not to prevent their despoliation. Can I get a roll call, Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Woolsey,
Present.
Mr. McElroy,
Present.
Mr. Waltrip,
Here.
Mr. May,
Here.
Ms. Bowie.
Here.
Thank you, sir. First thing on the agenda here, minutes. If everyone's had a chance to review the minutes from the November 12th regular board meeting, any suggested changes or amendments to those minutes? Hearing none, seeing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes from the November 12th, 2025 meeting as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Next is the public comment period. The public comment period offers a chance for community members to express their opinions. Topics discussed shall not be directly related to specific public hearing items. To participate, speakers must provide their name and address for the record. Any members wishing to speak in the public comment period? Hearing none, seeing none, I will close the public comment period. Next on the agenda, public hearings. The outline for tonight's public hearings will be a staff presentation, followed by any questions or clarifications from the board. Then the public hearing will be opened. At that time, anybody wishing to speak may do so once called upon by the chair. All public speakers must state their name and address for the record. Presentations before the board are subject to time limits. After everyone wishing to speak has done so and discussion among the board has concluded, the public hearing will be closed. First on the agenda is WJPA-24-0028. Ms. Grosjean.
Good evening, Board. Emily Grosjean, Watershed Planner, presenting WJPA 24-0028. Mr. Andrew Gurley of CLS Marine LLC has applied for a wetlands permit on behalf of Ms. Jackie Steffen for the construction of a wooden bulkhead on property located at 3096 North Riverside Drive within the Yarmouth Creek watershed. We have that watershed boundary outlined in yellow before you, along with the subject parcel in question in blue. And then moving in closer, just current aerial photography with that subject parcel and topography, as well as existing FEMA floodplain. Existing conditions on this site include a failed concrete bulkhead landward of various bald cypress trees within the tidal zone. Roots from these trees extend up into the yard. A living shoreline was previously approved by the board for this site at the July 12th, 2023 hearing under VMRC number 2023-0495 or WJPA 23-0007. This permit has since expired. The previous agent expressed that an alternate approach to shoreline management, such as replacing the bulkhead, would damage portions of the cypress trees. The new agent is now proposing the construction of a 65 linear foot wooden bulkhead in the existing footprint of the failed concrete one. Based on Virginia Marine Resources Commission documents, the applicant will need an erosion and sediment control plan and a land disturbance permit, as the construction access, staging, and land disturbance is above mean high water. The new proposal was previously scheduled to be heard by the board at the October 8th, 2025 meeting. The agent requested deferral to the November 13th, 2025 meeting, which the board granted. The agent requested an additional deferral to the December 10th, 2025 meeting to allow the agent to work with an engineer on a revised application and site plan. The new application proposes the same wooden bulkhead installation, but now includes a total of 1,376 square feet of disturbance within the resource protection area. Staff will be requiring a surety of $3,000 to guarantee the replanting of the disturbed RPA. So this was the previously approved site plan that has since expired, proposing a living shoreline under a different agent. And that is the previous cross-section, again, of that living shoreline proposal. This was the previous plan that came before the board prior to the first deferral, along with the site plan drawn here and the cross-section shown here. This is the new site plan. We have our limits of disturbance outlined here. This is all within the RPA buffer. So again, that mitigation surety will be to guarantee the replanting and stabilization of this area. The proposed bulkhead is outlined in orange, and as you can see, it is in line with the existing footprint of the failed bulkhead. And we have about 3 very large bald cypress trees that will be protected. The applicant in their application has proposed tree armoring to do so. And then you have the mean low water line here along with mean high, which is about on par with where that existing failed bulkhead is. And then this is just a cross-section of that proposed bulkhead. As you can see, again, it's in line with the existing failed bulkhead. and we have mean high and mean low. They're going to be filling to bring the grade up from the existing one shown by this kind of slope here, along with fill to grade everything out and make it even, with a drainage hole for that bulkhead for groundwater. Just some recent photography of the site, kind of moving from the right to the left. As you can see, there are currently sandbags on top of that existing filled bulkhead and one of those bald cypress trees that will be protected. And this is at mean high water. So kind of looking further left, again, you see it's kind of reinforced as best as they can with those sandbags. And then just moving further down, that last bit of the bulkhead where you kind of lose it here because it's failed, it's just sediment and plantings that have just grown. And just a closer up look of that. And then just looking back down to that fuller length of the bulkhead that's since failed. And then just kind of back showing where, if you can make it out, those bald cypress knees come up in the yard. On February 1st, 2025, the Wetlands Mitigation Compensation Policy of the Code of Virginia was amended. Virginia, as a Chesapeake Bay program partner, is committed to achieve a no net loss of existing wetlands acreage and function in the signatories' regulatory programs. In order for a proposed project to be authorized to impact wetlands and compensate for the wetland loss in some prescribed manner, the following 3 criteria must be met. All reasonable mitigative efforts, including alternative siting, which would eliminate or minimize wetland loss or disturbance, must be incorporated in the proposal. The proposal must be clearly water dependent in nature, and the proposal must demonstrate clearly its need to be in the wetlands and its overwhelming public and private benefits. If the proposed project cannot meet one or more of the above criteria, the project must be denied or must occur in areas outside of wetlands. Should it satisfy all 3 criteria, however, compensation for the wetland loss is required. The sequence of acceptable mitigation options should be as follows: mitigation bank, approved in lieu fee program, permittee responsible on-site and in-kind mitigation, or permittee responsible mitigation through off-site or out-of-kind mitigation within the same watershed. If compensation is required, it should be a condition of the permit. Staff has reviewed this application and finds that this project meets the 3 criteria outlined above. Staff has reviewed the above application and recommends denial of the application as presented because a living shoreline project will work in this scenario and is the preferred method of shoreline management by the Commonwealth of Virginia. Should the board wish to approve the application, staff suggests the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicant must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits, including the submittal of an erosion and sediment control plan and a land disturbance permit as required for the project. All development activities located in the specified flood hazard area shall comply with Article 6, Division 3 Floodplain Area Regulations of the James City County zoning ordinances and receive all required approval and permits prior to commencement of such activities. The applicant must guarantee that all existing cypress trees and roots are to remain in an undisturbed state during and post-construction. The applicant must submit a surety of $3,000 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the replanting of 1,376 square feet of disturbance within the RPA prior to the issuance of a building permit. The wetlands permit for this project shall expire on December 10th, 2028 if construction has not already begun, and if an extension of the permit is needed, a written request must be submitted to the Stormwater and Resource Protection Division no later than October 29th, 2028, which is 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Gorgine. Any questions for staff?
Can you put that first picture back there showing the docks going out? Wait,
That's our first one here.
right there. It sure does look like the way these docks are, maybe it's deceiving the way this thing is drawn. Looks like these docks are so close together right here at the end of these piers. And I don't think that we have any jurisdiction over the piers anyway. As far as going out, it's just the land part. I don't know, maybe it's deceiving to me, but they sure look like they're running in together out here at the end of these piers.
So the previous proposal before you, they did propose a pier and a boathouse, but that permit has since expired, and this current application is only proposing a new bulkhead within the same footprint as the existing failed one.
Same footprint and then just the.
Just the bulkhead.
Okay, all right, you straightened me out on it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Emily, for that bulkhead, would the existing concrete be removed and replaced with the wood bulkhead?
I'm going to defer that
Okay.
to the applicant.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Emily? All right, thank you, Emily. I'd like to open up the public comment period for this case. Anyone from the public wish to speak on the project? Please state your name and address for the record.
Karen Hall, 7501 Mill Trail Road, Charles City, Virginia.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
So we're just proposing, the bulkhead in the same exact footprint, removing the concrete bulkhead and replacing it with the wood bulkhead. While a living shoreline was proposed previously, before the previous proposal was including the neighbors also putting in a living shoreline and there being a larger, shoreline erosion control. However, those neighboring properties have pulled out, and so a living shoreline would be incredibly narrow here. As you pointed out, these properties are all the property footprint and the along the river are very narrow, and I don't think a living shoreline would be as effective here with how narrow it is. And the bulkhead, once replaced, would at least provide some shoreline protection.
Questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else wish to speak on this matter? All right, hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public comment period and matters before the board for discussion or a motion. Questions, concerns?
I think keeping with the consistency of surrounding neighbors with a living shoreline being put in there, it's gonna change things. Here's some more
Comments?
I mean, I believe that, with the section of the living shoreline being so small, it would be difficult to, keep it in shape and, it obviously is in failure and it would provide benefit having this fixed up. I see benefits to having it be the wooden bulkhead, replacing it and providing the shoreline stabilization, so.
I too see the benefits of replacing that bulkhead, and there are provisions in there to protect the cypress
Cypress
trees
trees, yeah.
in their existing state. So I think do we have a motion or comments? Discussion? Have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the request for 3096 North Riverside Drive for the construction of a bulkhead.
Mr. Wilson?
Motion is for approval. Mr. Woolsey,
Yes.
Mr. McElroy,
Yes.
Mr. Waltrip,
Yes.
Ms. Bowie,
Yes.
Mr. May.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank you. That's all the applications on the agenda for tonight. Next is board considerations. Are there any board considerations? All right, seeing none, hearing none. Any matters of special privilege?
We do have a work session scheduled for, actually, it's not for this board, it's for the Chesapeake Bay Board. I apologize. Nothing.
Matters of not so special privilege. All right, that is it for our agenda for the Wetlands Board. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
call to order the Chesapeake Bay Board for this meeting Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. I will recite the responsibility of this board is to carry out locally the Commonwealth policy to protect against and minimize pollution and deposition of sediment in wetlands, streams, and lakes in James City County, which are tributaries of the Chesapeake Bay. Roll call, please, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Woolsey?
Here.
Mr. McElroy?
Here.
Mr. Waltrip?
Here.
Mr. May?
Here.
Ms. Bowie?
Here. Now to approve the minutes from the November 12th, 2025 regular board meeting. Are any changes requested by the board? Motion, please, to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from November 12th, 2025 as presented.
A voice vote, please, to accept the minutes for the November meeting, please.
Yes, aye.
The minutes have been approved. Now opens the public comment period. The public comment period offers a chance for community members to express their opinions. Topics discussed shall not be directly related to specific public hearing items. To participate, speakers must provide their name and address for the record. Would anyone like to address the board? Hearing none, seeing none, we will move to the public hearings. The outline for tonight's public hearings will be a staff presentation, followed by any questions or clarifications from the board. Then the public hearing will be opened. At that time, anybody wishing to speak may do so once called upon by the chair. All board speakers must state their name and address for the record. Presentations before the board are subject to time limits. For everyone wishing to speak, after everyone wishing to speak has done so and discussion among the board has concluded, the public hearing will be closed. Our first agenda item is CBPA 25-0126 at 7667 Cypress Drive for the construction of an addition to an existing home.
Evening, Vice Chair, members of the board. Amanda Frazier, Watershed Planner, presenting CBPA 25-0126. Ms. Erin Martin of Crossroad Custom Builders Incorporated has applied for a Chesapeake Bay exception on behalf of Mr. Terry and Ms. Paula Shiver, trustees, for encroachments into the RPA buffer for the addition to the existing home located at 7667 Cypress Drive within the Cypress Point subdivision in the Yarmouth Creek watershed. The parcel was platted in 1977 prior to the adoption of the Chesapeake Bay Ordinance in 1990. So here you can see the vicinity map and aerial photography of the property, current topography, and floodplain. The total lot size of this property is 0.84 acres, of which 56% is located within the RPA. The applicants are proposing to construct an addition to the existing home. Total impacts to the RPA associated with this proposal equate to 40 square feet of impacts to the landward 50-foot RPA. Required mitigation for this amount of impervious impacts equals half a planting unit, 6 shrubs. The applicants have proposed a mitigation plan equaling 6 shrubs, therefore satisfying county mitigation requirements. So this is the site plan for the existing conditions of the property. Here you can see there is an existing deck that encroaches into the RPA. They are proposing to remove that and replace it with a room addition shown here. Some recent photography of the property. Here you can see the existing deck at that corner where they'll be bumping it out slightly further. And then another photo looking more this direction. Staff has evaluated the application and exception request for the addition of an to the existing home. This application meets the ordinance conditions in sections 23-11 and 23-14 and should be heard by the board because the proposed addition will encroach within the RPA closer to the resource. The board may grant exceptions to 23-7 if the application meets the following 5 conditions, which you have before you. Staff has reviewed the application and exception request and has determined the impacts associated with the proposal to be minor for the proposed development. Staff recommends approval for this exception request, and if the board wishes to approve the request, staff recommends the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicants must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. The applicants must submit a surety of $500 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plan equaling 6 shrubs. The applicants must record an affidavit at the WJCC courthouse prior to the release of surety. This exception request will become null and void if construction has not begun by December 10th, 2026. Written request for an extension to an exception must be submitted to the SRP division no later than October 29th, 2026, 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
Does the board have questions for Ms. Frazier? Would anyone present like to address the board? I will open the.
Good evening, Board. My name is Sean Lemon with Crossroad Custom Builders. Address is 7596 Uncle's Neck Road, Toanna, Virginia. I'm here representing the applicant, the Shivers, and just available if you have any questions specific to the project.
Does the board have questions? Discussion among the board?
Seems like a very straightforward, minor request. I would be in support of it.
Other comment? The public hearing is closed. Do I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion to adopt the resolution to grant the exception request for Chesapeake Bay Board case number CBPA 250126 at 7667 Cypress Drive.
Motion is to adopt. Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Mr. McElroy?
Yes.
Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Bodie?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next on the agenda, CBPA -25-0135 at 8826 Mount Zion Road for the construction of a detached garage. Ms. Grogy?
Good evening, Board. Emily Grogine, Watershed Planner, presenting CBPA 25-0135. Mr. Chase Grogg of Land Tech Resources Incorporated has applied for a Chesapeake Bay exception on behalf of Mr. Brent Darren for encroachments into the RPA buffer for the construction of a detached garage located at 8826 Mount Zion Road within the Ware Creek watershed. As you see before you, this funky shaped parcel in blue here is the subject parcel in question, along with that watershed boundary in yellow. And then moving further in, you'll see shortly in the site plan, the scope of work is only really taking place right here, along with the existing topography and RPA buffer. The total lot size of this property is 2.918 acres, of which 99% is located within the RPA. The applicant is proposing to construct a detached garage. Total impacts to the RPA associated with this proposal equate to 3,157 square feet of total impacts to the landward 100-foot RPA buffer. Required mitigation for this amount of impervious impacts equals 8 planting units, or 8 canopy trees, 16 understory trees, and 24 shrubs. The applicant has proposed a mitigation plan equaling 8 planting units in the form of 8 canopy trees, 16 understory trees, and 24 shrubs. This meets county's mitigation requirements. So for the site plan outlined before you, the board is voting on the proposed garage and the 50 landward here in purple. As a note, all of the grayed out portions within the RPA are under administrative approval, and that would be approved concurrently with your approval of the garage. We have the setback line here in blue, along with that first 100-foot buffer, and then the 50 landward. As you can see, there's no encroachment into that except for some slight possible clearing for a proposed drain field. as you can see, the current topography kind of just slopes back, so it won't be encroaching on those wetlands based on the proposal. And then just moving closer in to show y'all kind of better what's being proposed. We have that garage again outlined in purple. And then the proposed mitigation is all outlined in green here, and that would be 8 units total. And then just some site photography, trying to show some staking. So we have the rough corner of that garage here in the front, and then just moving closer up, again, showing you that front rough corner, and then to the back there, and then that proposed limit of clearing kind of flagged by that blue piece of tape there. And then just moving again kind of further up to show that extent of the garage in the RPA. And then standing again from this corner of the building or proposed building, just to show you kind of the slope and distance of everything. Excuse me, I gotta find my place. And then just kind of turning back to the other side, showing the opposing corner of everything along with that proposed LOD. And then one more showing kind of how the slope of the property currently is. As you can see, it just kind of slopes back there. Staff has evaluated the application and exception request for the construction of a detached garage. This application meets the ordinance conditions in sections 23-11 and 23-14 and should be heard by the board because a detached garage is considered accessory in nature. The board may grant exceptions to section 23-7 if the application meets the following 5 conditions outlined before you. Staff has reviewed the application and exception request and has determined the impacts associated with the proposal to be major for the proposed development. Staff recommends approval for this exception request, and if the board wishes to approve the request, staff recommends the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicant must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. The applicant must submit a surety of $6,000 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plan equaling 8 planting units or 8 canopy trees, 16 understory trees, and 24 shrubs. The applicant must record an affidavit in the Williamsburg-James City County Courthouse prior to the release of surety. This exception request approval will become null and void if construction is not begun by December 10th, 2026, and written requests for an extension to an exception must be submitted to the SRP division no later than October 29th, 2026, which is 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time. Thank you.
We'll open the public hearing, and we have someone who wishes to speak. Please state your name and address.
And only tonight. Good evening, members of the board. Chase Grogg with Land Tech Resources, 205 Bullifonts Boulevard, Suite E, Williamsburg, Virginia. Thank you, Emily, for your presentation. I'm here tonight representing Mr. Brent Darren on his proposed construction of a detached garage and associated driveway. This lot is one of the oldest lots I've had to do design work on, having been platted in 1924, as mentioned by staff. As shown on our site plan, a majority of this property is encumbered by wetlands and a flat bottom, leaving 3 ridges along 6 Mount Zion Road as locations to be able to construct any improvements. The lot is not in close direct proximity to public utilities, which made it to where one ridge would need to be utilized for a drain field. The first ridge along the southern property line is primarily the beginning of the high ground for the neighboring property and did not lend itself to being a suitable slope to build on. That left us with the bigger and flatter high ground in the middle northern part of the lot. In trying to utilize the existing topography to the best of our ability, it became apparent that splitting the garage from the house would be beneficial. With this layout, we were able to put the garage on a flatter area and orient the home with the existing topography. This also limited our disturbance to the landward 50 feet. The proposed driveway was also placed in an arc to allow for movement around the site, but also falling, for the most part, outside of the RPA. Mitigation plants have been placed around the site to help reestablish vegetation after construction. As mentioned by staff, the proposed mitigation meets the county's mitigation requirements. Based on staff's recommendation of approval, as well as the information I've provided, we would request that the board recommend approval for the project. I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have. Thank you.
I will close the public hearing, and I'm looking for a motion to adopt.
Go along with the staff's recommendation for approval.
I too would support this application. I would make a motion to adopt the resolution to grant the exception request for Chesapeake Bay Board case number CBPA-25-0135 at 88206 Mount Zion Road.
The motion is to adopt. Mr. Woolsey,
Yes.
Mr. McElroy,
Yes.
Mr. Waltrip,
Yes.
Mr. May,
Yes.
Ms. Bowie.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Moving on to CBPA 25-0138, number 1, Tay River, for construction of a deck, patio, and fire pit. Presentation, please, by Ms. Frazier.
Evening, Vice Chair, members of the board. Amanda Fraser, Watershed Planner, presenting CBPA 25-0138. Mr. Chase Grogg of Atlantic Resources Incorporated has applied for a Chesapeake Bay exception on behalf of Ms. Karen McCauley, trustee, for encroachments into the RPA buffer for the construction of a deck, patio, and fire pit located at 1 Tay River within the Ford's Colony subdivision and the Powhatan Creek watershed. The parcel was platted in 1985 prior to the adoption of the Chesapeake Bay Ordinance in 1990. In the vicinity map, you can see the subject parcel outlined in blue and the Powhatan Creek watershed boundary outlined in yellow. Some recent aerial photography of the property, subject parcel, RPA, and the floodplain. Total lot size of this property is 0.46 acres, of which 39% is located within the RPA. The applicant is proposing to construct a new deck, patio, and fire pit. Total impacts to the RPA associated with this proposal equate to 881 square feet of impacts to the landward 50-foot RPA. Required mitigation for this amount of impervious impacts equals 2 planting units, 2 canopy trees, 4 understory trees, and 8 shrubs. The applicants have proposed a mitigation plan equaling 2 canopy trees, 4 understory trees, and 8 shrubs, therefore satisfying county mitigation requirements. So this site plan is showing the existing conditions, which you can see there is a landscape wall here that is proposed to be removed, and it also encroaches here, and then the existing deck, this corner, is encroaching. They are planning to remove those and replace them with this design here, a new deck, patio, and fire pit. And the mitigation plantings are proposed in these locations. Some recent photography of the lot. You can see the walkway coming around the corner of the house and looking out at the project area here. This is currently mulched, and they will be replacing it with the patio, and again removing this landscape wall and replacing it. And then the fire pit and patio area will be approximately in this location. Staff has evaluated the application and exception request for the construction of a deck, patio, and fire pit. This application meets the ordinance conditions in sections 23-11 and 23-14 and should be heard by the board because the construction of a deck, patio, and fire pit are considered accessory in nature. The board may grant exceptions to section 23-7 if the application meets the following 5 conditions, which you have before you. Staff has reviewed the application and exception request and has determined the impacts associated with the proposal to be moderate for the proposed development. Staff recommends approval of this exception request, and if the board wishes to approve the request, staff recommends the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicants must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. The applicant must submit a surety of $2,000 in a form acceptable to the James City County's Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plan equaling 2 canopy trees, 4 understory trees, and 8 shrubs. The applicant must record an affidavit in the WJCC courthouse prior to release of surety. This exception request approval will become null and void if construction has not begun by December 10th, 2026. And written requests for an extension of an exception must be submitted to the SRP division no later than October 29th, 2026, 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. Happy to take any questions at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Frazier?
How much new impact in the RPA?
Approximately 881 square feet.
Questions?
Thank you.
now open the public hearing.
Good evening again, members of the board. Chase Grog with Land Tech Resources, 205 Bullifonts Boulevard, Suite E, Williamsburg, Virginia. Thank you, Amanda, for your presentation. As mentioned by staff, this proposal includes the reconstruction of an existing deck, patio, and fire pit. The proposed location of these improvements is an already maintained yard located behind the residence. There is no proposed removal of existing vegetation for the installation of the proposed improvements. As shown on my plan, the patio will follow the limits of the already existing retaining wall that is currently mulched between the existing deck and wall. The proposed deck extension is also close to the footprint of what is currently being heavily maintained. The owners have also selected a superior deck product that requires very little maintenance in the years to come. While the fire pit does extend out further than the existing improvements, it was placed in an area of the yard that requires no vegetation or heavy grading. Also, due to the existence of a FEMA flood zone on the property, the proposed improvements will need to be placed pretty much on grade that currently exist. This requirement will also help ensure that disturbance during construction will be minimal. Disturbance for the proposed project is also under 2,500 square feet, which is the threshold for requiring a land disturbance permit. That is also another indication of the minor impact this project will have. Mitigation as proposed meets county requirements and has been placed alongside and downstream of the proposed improvements. Since the project has no major grading associated with it, all rainfall will sheet flow off of the proposed improvements through the yard and into the vegetated 50-foot seaward buffer. With this project falling within an already manicured yard, our proposed mitigation and staff's recommendation are for approval for this exception. The owners and myself request the board grant the requested exception. I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Questions for Mr. Grog?
Just to confirm, it's not 500 on the surety, it's 2,000.
I will close the public hearing. Would a member of the board care to make a motion to adopt the resolution to grant?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution to grant exception request for the Chesapeake Bay Board case number CBPA 25-0138 at 1 Tay River.
Motion is to adopt. Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Mr. McElroy?
Yes.
Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Bowie?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
We'll now move to CBPA 25-0133 at 108 North Knob Hill for construction of an attached deck, walkway, fire pit, patio, and retaining wall. Presentation, please, by Ms. Grogine.
Good evening, Board. Emily Grogine, Watershed Planner, presenting CBPA 25-0133. Mr. Chase Grog of Land Tech Resources Incorporated has applied for a Chesapeake Bay exception on behalf of Mr. Joby Colson for encroachments into the RPA buffer for the construction of an attached deck, walkway, fire pit, patio, and retaining wall located at 108 North Knob Hill within the Fords Colony subdivision and the Powhatan Creek watershed. Here we have that watershed boundary outlined in yellow before you, along with the subject parcel highlighted in blue. And then just moving closer in on that parcel, we have current aerial photography, as well as topography, the RPA buffer, and then the current proposed site plan. And I do apologize in advance for the labeling. I try to make it as big as possible so it's visible, but then also not cover it in labels. Total lot size of this property is 1.1 acres, of which 88% is located within the RPA. This parcel was platted in 2005 after the revisions to the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance in 2004. Due to the time of initial plat submittal and review, this parcel is grandfathered under conditions established in 1990 and prior to the 2004 revisions to the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance. That is why before you, all of what you get to vote on tonight is all in purple here with a small sliver of the deck encroaching into that 50 seaward highlighted in orange. But the overall deck is located here to the rear of the proposed home, along with that walkway, which it's raised along with the deck, and then that retaining wall here, and the patio and fire pit outlined in purple here. As you can see, this lot just kind of slopes right back with the wetland line being in green here. And then we have our limits of disturbance buffed out in this little black buffer here with some selective clearing for a sanitary sewer connection located here. And then just moving closer in to give you a better view of what we're looking at. Again, that little tiny orange sliver is the only encroachment into the seaward 50 for impacts, along with the deck, walkway, retaining wall, and patio/fire pit here. Total impacts to the RPA associated with this proposal equate to 11 square feet of impacts to the seaward 50-foot RPA, 3,801 square feet of impacts to the landward 100-foot RPA, for a total of 8,812 square feet of impacts to the RPA. Required mitigation for this amount of impervious impacts equals 9 1/2 planting units, or 9 canopy trees, 18 understory trees, and 33 shrubs. The applicant has submitted a mitigation plan equaling 8 planting units, 1 canopy tree, 10 understory trees, and 64 shrubs. In lieu of planting the remaining 1 1/2 units, the applicant will be paying into the Chesapeake Bay Mitigation Fund. We have the proposed mitigation plan here with all proposed plantings going in the RPA buffer, highlighted in green. And then just moving on to current site photos, kind of giving you the rough corner of that home where that walkway is going to be. And then to the left, that deck with the fire pit and patio kind of extending out to right about here. And then just looking at kind of the extent to that limits of disturbance and extent of the deck. And then just again, kind of looking at the extent of that proposed deck, along with an idea of kind of the slope of the lot, how it starts in the front and just slopes right back there. And then just looking back forward to see the rough corner of that home here, along with the extent of the deck that was previously marked here. Staff has evaluated the application and exception request for the construction of an attached deck, walkway, fire pit, patio, and retaining wall. This application meets the ordinance conditions in sections 23-11 and 23-14 and should be heard by the board because the construction of an attached deck, walkway, fire pit, patio, and retaining wall are all considered accessory in nature. The board may grant exceptions to section 23-7 if the application meets the following 5 conditions outlined before you. Staff has reviewed the application and exception request and has determined the impacts associated with the proposal to be major for the proposed development. If the board wishes to approve the request, staff recommends the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicant must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. The applicant must submit a surety of $6,000 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plan equaling 8 planting units, or 1 canopy tree, 10 understory trees, and 64 shrubs prior to building permit issuance. The applicant must submit a payment of $2,000 to the county's Chesapeake Bay Mitigation Fund prior to building permit issuance. The applicant must record an affidavit in the Williamsburg-James City County Courthouse prior to the release of surety. The exception request approval will become null and void if construction is not begun by December 10th, 2026, and written request for an extension to an exception must be submitted to the SRP division no later than October 29th, 2026, which is 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
So, Ms. Grudging, for my benefit, will you just repeat the part that we as the board are considering tonight?
Absolutely. All of the impacts within the landward 50 are highlighted in purple here, with that one portion of the deck encroaching into the seaward 50. So all the colorful bits, that is what y'all are approving this evening, or voting on this evening, excuse me.
All right, any questions from the board for Ms. Grudging? All right, thank you, Ms. Grudging.
Thank you.
Mr. Grog, the public hearing is now open.
Good evening. One last time. Chase Grog with Atlantic Resources, 205 Bullifonts Boulevard, Suite E, Williamsburg, Virginia. Thank you, Emily, for your project overview of 108 North Nob Hill. I'm here tonight representing the Colsons on their proposed home construction. As mentioned by staff, this parcel was created just as the 2004 changes to the Chesapeake Bay Board Preservation Ordinance occurred. When the homeowner reached out to us about the proposed construction on this lot, I advised them that a ranch-style home would be the best option for the existing topography and limitations of the RPA. They're able to achieve that design with a house that is only 41 feet deep when including the garage. The side load garage was also selected in an effort to keep the house as far forward as possible. This allowed for the driveway to gently slope from the road to the parking pad and then from there into the rear of the lot. While these items I just described are being approved administratively, I wanted to give some context for the exceptions we are asking for. In keeping the house shallow, it allowed for the deck to barely encroach into the seaward 50 feet. This also allows us to keep a very healthy remaining buffer between the improvements and the wetlands at the toe of the slope. The fire pit was placed behind the driveway to the right for two reasons. The first was to take advantage of a flatter area than what exists behind the house. It also enabled us to have limited grading behind the home and focus the grading around the front. The second is to have a greater distance from the proposed fire pit to the wetlands themselves. Once the water does flow off-site, it goes through 3 Ford's Colony BMPs prior to finally discharging off-property. After county staff sent APO letters to the neighboring property owners, I was contacted by Mr. and Mrs. Triola, who are the owners of Lot 6 to the north. They knew how to get in touch with me as their home had to go through the same approval process as this project. They raised a concern about a large oak that is outside of the RPA, but along the common line with our subject property. In response to their concern, I shifted our silt fence and added tree protection around the tree. This plan was sent to both the Triolas as well as staff. This morning, Mr. Triola sent an email stating he was satisfied with our fixed. Based on the information I've provided as well as staff's presentation, myself and Mr. Colson would request approval of this Chesapeake Bay exception. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Board, any questions for Mr. Grog? Mr. Grog?
Thank you.
Public hearing is closed. Do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution to grant?
Looks like it's a very minor encroachment into the RPA area. I just got I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution to grant exception request Chesapeake Bay Board, case number CBPA 25-0133 at 108 North Knob Hill.
Motion is to adopt. Mr. Woolsey,
Yes.
Mr. McElroy,
Yes.
Mr. Waltrip, Mr. May,
Yes.
Ms. Bowie.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Right. We are now at the portion of the agenda for board considerations. Are there any?
No board considerations, but we do have the matter of special privilege. We do have a work session scheduled for January 21st, 3 to 5 that afternoon. Location most likely to be in the board work session room behind Mr. Woolsey. I will confirm that and let the board know and the general public know where that meeting will be held.
Mr. Wilson? I adjourn the meeting. Oh, we didn't vote. I'm sorry. A motion to adjourn by voice vote.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Aye.
Yes.